Move it. Okay, here you go. Yeah, I wanted to make another comment about the recent ordeal, and it's about this group in NFAC and the criticism that they're getting from different individuals on YouTube. And it was really something when you see other black individuals criticize somebody who they talk a lot of stuff, but they don't apply what they say. It's funny. And this is dealing with, and there's a video still going around about this Grandmaster Jay fella. And here's the thing that people are missing out. That the man put his life on the line. Okay, none of these individuals who's on social media didn't put their life on the line to get some results for these victims, like Breonna Taylor and Aubrey down there in Georgia. There's people that went, for example, the latest incident, one incident that happened a few months ago. Everybody was around George Floyd's funeral, and even though they had a couple of officers got arrested, one I did the initial killing of George Floyd, but still the other ones got away, and they got let off on bond. And then, what the results of the protest, the police officers who were doing and getting away with murder was able to walk scot free. I saw this. If anybody can look this, and I've seen it before, he mentioned it, that there were 30 officers after NFAC went down there and resigned. And probably out of those 30-something officers, some of them were doing a lot of dirt to people down there, that they were getting away with it. So, and that's why some police officers are leaving, because there was what they call a good old boys club, and they want to do what they want to do and keep doing to certain people. And it's sad that you got black people, and no matter if they're in a group, like the group that I just heard, they talk a lot of stuff, and I can understand that sometimes, I understand the message that sometimes everybody have their own different method of handling business. Sometimes you can go down there with the Bible, but sometimes even though you have a sword in your hand, the sword gets the more attention. Because how many people that you sit up there and told them about the Bible, and I have seen preachers on the corner preaching the word of God, and I have seen men literally get attacked for preaching the word, physically attacked, and women get attacked for preaching the name of Jesus Christ. And when you start talking the truth about the sins, it stirs something up in people. And luckily, it's the hand of God to hold those people back. But some people were physically. I watched a couple of ministers, pastors on the street. They got spit on. Somebody tried to hit them. Somebody went there and tried to attack them in all types of ways. And then it can get to the point that you could be ministering, and while you could be ministering your version of God, and you out there on the corner, they could shoot you. And you don't have no weapon of defense. Why are these individuals talking about that? I mean, sometimes some people in this world, they don't understand until you speak a certain language to them. And even just like it is a biblical myth that this is what happened. Yeah, there were some people that were prophets in the Bible, and there were some men that would minister the Bible. But early in the Bible, there's some people that had to go to war. I mean, Moses was a kind. Look at the Moses and Joshua. Moses, all he had to do was lead the people out of the desert. But it was the Joshuas that had to fight the giants. And Joshua had to lead after Moses got up in age and he passed away. And sometimes they had to go in and take the land, and they had to use by faith, and they had to use whatever weapons that they had to fight the people that was around the island or around the village or whatever land they went to. This is biblical, since people want to bring biblical stuff in it. Because sometimes some enemies in this world, you can't just throw something at them. You just can't throw, well, you're this group of people, and you're the devil, and you this and this and this and this and this, and so you got a team of people. You got some people that when they read their book, whatever it may be, just for example, I'll give you a couple examples. These same men that criticized Jay, Grandmaster Jay, and this was a religious group. What if you come across a situation where someone, and actually a witch put a spell on you, or a warlock, or somebody like that? And that they read the book and say, I'm gonna curse this group. And something you get, and after you get done, and something happens, and whatever you thought was supposed to apply. But if you're not in the spirit of understanding, if you don't have it's easy to sell the, and that's how the priest of Scavia was. They would just go out there, they would minister and minister and minister and minister. But it sounded like they know of God, they preached Jesus, but when it came down to the spiritual fight, when the devil rises up and manifests in a person, what you gonna do? And then what did that devil act out? Because like they do with the pastors or the ministers on the street, to the point they physically attack you, and they don't care how many men is around you or other people around, they will physically attack you. This was what kind of day we living in. So the reason why there had to have been some, like, he did a tactic that maybe it sounded a whole lot of cussing and things like that. Maybe it may not be what your format is, but think about it. Whatever he did, he got it done. And then on top of that, it made people think about, even though you don't have to physically go out there and shoot somebody, but if someone tell you that they're gonna come up in your property like they did in the old days in the Bible, and they threaten and say, "Come on out, I want to come on out and fight you, and I'll kill your family, man." What you gonna do? What you gonna sit there? And this was the response that he said. Now it was not, he wasn't gonna go down and start shooting innocent people. It was basically saying, "I'm gonna get, but if you bring something, we're gonna come directly to you. Because you speak it, you act on it, then we're here to respond to it lawfully, because you strike first." What's wrong with that? That's not the proper way of doing something. But we live in a time when people don't care about that. There's some people, they're even teachers that are arming themselves in school, because there was so many shootings that there was some individuals, and yet even though they took certain tactics to block the desk, but some teachers at some point, if you look at past news clippings, saying they want to have a gun on them. And in fact, there was one school in Arizona where the teachers and the principal have a gun. So a gunman come in there, whether it could be an old student or whatever, they could talk whatever, but they could try to talk that person down. But this person determined just to go there, and they got the madness of craziness in their eyes, and they don't hear you, and they want to shoot you. Then you don't have no choice but to get a weapon and put them down. That's what he was basically was talking about. You got some crazy people in this world that they need to know that, hey, you're not going to just get away and keep murdering people unjustifiably and thinking that you're going to hide behind a corrupt system. No, it has to be a shaking, and it was a movement. So even though it activated something when he went down to Kentucky, it activated, but it wasn't what they. Oh my goodness, da 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 da. And you had some people that thought they were gonna go down there and try to start something with them, but the police held them back, said you don't know what you're dealing with. And I saw the video of a news channel down there, and I seen what it was all about. But what I'm saying is, do you understand that this man put his life on the line? That he stepped out in faith. He stepped out and then and put himself out there and said, hey, for the justice of this person, I'm willing to give my life. And then actually someone filmed him saying, come on, no, let me step away. So you could, if you got a sharpshooter get I said, you understand what he did? And you're gonna sit there and criticize him because you could, he was shot. They was trying to hit him. They said that's why he was saying they're coming after him. They're not coming after other people. But it has to cost something to shake something up to see that there was corruption in the place. And God had to allow that to get exposed. That there was a corruption in Louisville, Kentucky. It was corruption, and that was basically it was about. It wasn't going to get violent like some people's, even though it sounded like it was, but it wasn't going to get to that extent. The man have enough restraint to do that, but sometimes you have to talk a certain way to get your point across. To literally to scare the hell into some people to let them think, because some people you can't go out and now come on now now we all Jesus and everything, and some people some people you can rationalize with, but some people they'll laugh in your face. And they'll think, oh, this guy's just a joke. But when you look like you're about to have a serious conversation, I'm serious, and you give that look like, hey, I don't care, then it's amazing that the same people that got this, they kind of straighten up because they see that you're not playing with them. And I saw this with my own eyes. So it's easy for you to sit back and criticize for somebody. And what about the victim? What about did any of these individuals who's on YouTube, other individuals who's criticizing what he did? Did you step up and did you went down there to the family's victim and say, I'm sorry, or I'm going to go down and I'm going to investigate, and I'm going to go down and I'm going to talk to the individuals who's behind this, and we're going to get something behind it? No, what they did was, as some of these individuals all they did was sit back and criticize them. They didn't put their life on the line. This man put his life on, and other people that went down there in all black put their life on the line. What did you do? You didn't do that. You didn't come out the comfort of your home. And I can honestly admit, neither did I, because I have a slight nervous condition, and I know I couldn't do with the bravery what they do, but I'm there with them in spirit. At least I can say that. But it's easy for someone to sit there and criticize somebody when it talk a lot of mess about somebody, what they should have did, it's the same. You're the same people. What it was back in the '60s that said that Malcolm X was that he was a crazy Negro. But you forget the point. You're missing the point of why Malcolm X did what he did, because he had to expose something had to be horrendous, even though it cost him his life, to expose how much evilness, and so it opened up to people's eyes that surround them. It took someone to sacrifice like that to see how much evil it is in the land, and for somebody to do something about the evil. And even if it has to, then it puts the world on and say, well, you're doing all this there's people doing criminality in your country. What are you doing about this? Excuse me. What are you doing about this? What are you doing about this injustice that someone can be behind the badge and get away with murder? What's going on down here? That's what it was basically about. Exposing the evil that's in the land. But sometimes God has to use a certain tactic. Well, we may not agree. It might not line up, but I understand. Sometimes you have to use something just to cause something. Sometimes he has to let the enemy do something to cause something. Because sometimes people in this world, they just sit on it. They be lollygolly, God. Sometimes that's why the Most High had to let Satan do what he do. And that goes because we just sit down there. It's just another day. We in our own comfort zone, being big and bad and boisterous. But it's not until he has to allow something to happen for an event like that to happen. So it's just, I just wanted to chime one more time on this, and I don't mean it, but I'm responding to the people that's coming at him. Like, what would you have done? And it was your brother, your sister, your relative, your friend. They were crying out, and you know how the law enforcement. Sometimes people blow people up when you live in a certain community. They don't really fight for you. Even though the mother can call up there 5-6 times, what you gonna do about this case? They would just blew her off. Breonna Taylor. They would just kept blowing their family off, and that family is wounded. They're hurt. And they need they get support, but they need some justice, and that's what he went down there to make them give up. And where is the justice in the land? What is the justice by the book? You're going to have to say, where is this justice? It should be no favoritism here. These are she is an American citizen. That's what this was about. Just because someone live in a certain way of life, they deserve she live in this certain neighborhood where there's drugs and cracks or whatever. So she deserve to get death without. You understand what I'm saying? It doesn't make your argument doesn't make no sense. And I said, and then when I really heard that, means like there's some hope that, because a lot of time black people don't have hope that the justice don't go their way, and you get somebody out there that they want to water it down like they do these other well-known cases and make it political. They put a little bit about the victim and make this a whole thing about pushing their agenda on somebody for politics. That's what they did with the Floyd funeral. They made it all about politics. All about this, mostly about this, and he's trying to shine. But it was him, him and his family is the one, they gotta live with that pain. And where is the justice for them? Or they continue all those individuals, or they're gonna keep fighting to make sure that his family received the justice that the Floyd family was asking for. They want justice. Yeah, their brothers and their loved one is hurt, but they want justice for his murder, like any other person would be. And you got some people that criticize it. So you need someone like NFAC to muscle it up, to say, hey, we got to rise to a different level. And he did it by the law. And he did it by state law. He didn't break no laws. They didn't break not one law. And I said, if it had been anybody else, they would have practiced the Amendment right, freedom too. And they do the same thing. These other groups of people do. See? So how can you sit up there and criticize somebody like that? And it's a sad thing that you have black men doing this stuff, or certain groups of black men saying this stuff. But you didn't risk your life for a stranger. Wasn't going down there. You don't love your people enough. Oh, you talk a good game, but you ain't gonna go down there and expose your face. Come behind the screen. Go out your comfort zone. Come with you and 2,000, 3,000 people in open daylight. What could have been anybody was just looking just because a threat. He's responding to a threat, and they get all hyped up and say, and you got some sick, crazy person that think that they're gonna take them on. And so, because there's some people would try to do that, but that let that person know if they would try something like that, you know, you're not gonna go back home and have a beer and be with and have good sex with your woman. Okay, that's what this was really about. Because some people talk that stuff, but that's the hey. So they stepped up to the plate. Don't get mad, get jealous because he got more shine. He deserved that. They stood out there in that heat. Would you come out there in that 95-degree heat with equipment on, demanding rights? Would you done that? I don't think so. Would any of your organizations done that? I don't think so. And let me say this. It was a religious group that did this. It's easy for someone. Okay, here's the thing about it. It's good to give somebody a word and for identity reasons, who they are in Yah. But at the same time, if you're going out to preaching to somebody, show them who your ambassadorship is. If you are the men or of Yah, then you are you feeding the people? To your brothers, your black brothers, your black sisters. Are you feeding them? Or are you trying to get them closer? Not only that you give them the word, or you bring them closer to Yah, or you give them the spirit of, or you saying come and accept His spirit. Or you say, okay, now that you accept the spirit, now the next thing is to get them to the Ruach, to the spirit of to the Father. Are you interceding on the behalf, or are you any of these people interceding? Because to me, that's someone loving your brother or your sister. Not just having an identity, but that's bringing them closer to the truth. And not only you act, and that's what it's all about. Look at it, and I'm using this as the opposite of what people, or opposite of other people do. Look for example, the magician. The magician, I said, what does he do? A magician just don't sit there and just read a book. A magician sit there and what he reads, he go apply it. And it's just like someone who's a witch and a warlock. They don't just sit up there and just read a book. They go up there and read and apply it. And they will stand there until they produce something. See, they don't just sit there and just sit up there and preach whatever and just preach about it. They sit there and they teach about it, and then they activate it. See, this is what some people don't understand. Yeah, they activate their thing. Just like some people criticize them, they're Christians. But at least some Christians will activate their faith. How do they activate their faith? They pray for the person for one thing. So the person can feel like they have a spirit. It's not just words. It's not just hearing. It's actually applying and praying for them. That's what they do. They apply something. It's not just telling you about Yeshua and identify who you are with Yeshua as a people, but applying something. When you're going to apply it, you can talk to people all day long, but until they see you apply it, that's one thing. Are you applying it? Are you bringing them to the feet of the Father? That's what the people need. Particularly our people need to be brought to the feet of the Father. Any people need to be brought to the feet of the Father, but there are people, and all this injustice is happening. That's what they want to know. They want to know that cry. They want to know that anybody have enough to bring them to the Father, because that pain of losing that loved one don't go away, especially when they're doing this no justice on their behalf. I want to respond to that. So you may not understand his tactics the way he did it, but at least it produced something to the point that it got something moving. Will your tactics have got something moving on the behalf of the Breonna Taylors? Will your tactic got something moving on the behalf of Aunt Audrey? Will your tactics have got something moving? So why are you criticizing what his tactics is? Why are you criticizing? Are you jealous? What is it about that? Well, I don't think that's the appropriate way. because they could have did this, they could have did that. First of all, they already had it locked down. The law enforcement had it locked down. Somebody would have did something, it would have been too bad if they would have stepped out of bounds. But everything was cool. That man knew what he was doing. He wouldn't have got his people killed. Yes, sometimes it sounds you gotta talk rough to get some, and to talk that rough, because that's some people, that's the only language they understand. And you should know that. Some people you can talk, it's just like, your siblings. For example, you got some kids that all you gotta do is just say something and raise your voice, and they understand what you're saying. Then you got some kids that sometimes, no matter you raise your voice 3 or 4 times, you got to go and tear their little behind up till they understand that, and till they understand that you're not playing. You hear me? Well, that's just the same way in life. Some people hear you, but they just laugh like, "Oh, you ain't serious," until you get serious, till you get like I mentioned about the parent. Then they're like, "Oh, you really is serious." Yes. And even though you have the threat like you're going to use force, but sometimes in this case you didn't have to use force, but you got a threat like you're going to use force to make that person think. Because some people get too comfortable in doing what they do and doing evil. That's the truth. And I would ask that question to the people that's criticizing him. Would you have put your life on the line? That man did something. All of us, you gotta give him his props. And for to do that and come behind the computer, not hide, not be the internet bully, but step up and say, "I will go to that city and actually go and find out for myself. Go talk to the representatives." Would you have talked to the mayor? Would you have talked to the prosecutor? Would you talk to the attorney general and all these people? And get nose to nose with the chief of police? Would you have done that for those victims? I don't think so. You sat back on your keyboard, talking smack. But yeah, and that's what a lot of good people good to do. I mean, they're good jokesters and entertainers and stuff like that. But when it comes down, and they know how to get some people because of their personality. But sometimes the people want someone. Sometimes some people are good for personality when it comes to certain things. But there's some people that they talk like they for your people. Then there's some people that go and apply for their people. And so, as far as I'm concerned, that man, he proved it. He proved that he loved his people. He loved black people. What's wrong with that? That he put his life on the line for a stranger, not in his physical family, but in the global family. And he saw it as his own, took him as, that's my family. Would you have done that? Would you do that? You got black folks won't do stuff like that. Because and he's right, we're conditioned. We're conditioned to be scared. We're conditioned to be afraid. We think God, and say, yeah, God ought to do all the things. But God to do some things. But if you go out, but he needs you to go on in faith and listen to instruction, what he do, and apply what you do out on their own faith. It's easy to sit there and say something when it's not your relative, it's not your friend. You want justice. How would you feel? How if it was in your corner, your mother, someone shot your mother? And she was like a Breonna Taylor. Don't you would want somebody, and you wouldn't get no answers, and you were getting a blow by from different people? Oh, you just a couple of Negroes. Get out of here. Because that's you a villain. You from that neighborhood down there? Oh, just put them and tell them to get out of my face. And that's how some people look at people that live in a certain demographic of the neighborhood. Now, when you go and start taking actual steps and going through the process, again, going from one individual to another individual, and then say, okay, since we're gonna put this on a worldwide stage, so we can expose everything that you do, then that has to put something that it caused it up and said, well, we can't have this going on in our country because we got too much stuff going on, and we don't want to let some of the stuff hit international. That's smart, because now they have to explain what the dirty deeds that they do, because there's a lot of places in this country that still do or getting away with dirty deeds in small towns and cities throughout America, and there's people been doing stuff for many decades and generations. So that's why it had to be applied. So someone has to go down there and you ever see these documentaries and specials on how this person got set up, or they in some injustice in some small town in Mississippi or Louisiana, and you find all this corruption. It was a situation. It was in one Alabama town. They purposely put black men in jail. Just throw a charge up on them. Just don't worry, but just throw them in prison give them 10 to 20 years. You have black men that are doing 10, 20 years on a bogus crime it wasn't their fault. This is what someone like NFAC had to come in. God had allowed something like this to happen. To expose the dirty deeds, what the enemy is doing. Not just sit back up there lecturing, but someone had to, but someone has to be bold enough to be brave enough, and knowing that this individual put his life on the line. Well, you got a bunch of crazy people out here. You can't give them that much respect. And some of you guys are making videos about this. Really? Are you serious? But you won't do it for your community, knowing that there's people trying to threaten this man. They most likely they probably tried trying to figure out where he at, whatever. You don't understand the procedure in all those people down there. You have no idea. And for somebody to come to they come from different cities to do this, and you can't give them that much respect. Really? You should be ashamed of yourself to criticize that man. And it's not, he didn't go down there just to be, I want to be a rock star. I'm going down there to da-da-da-da-da. He wasn't going down there for nothing like that. But you got these other particular groups going down there just to make a name in the past and have their own agenda attached to it. While the victim is still left out there. Where's my justice for my family member? Where's my justice? And they're crying. Where's my justice? God, who's going to help me with the justice of the sin? That's what the cry was about. Breonna Taylor's family was crying for justice, and they knew it was going to be some corruption, and more corruption. Ahmaud Arbery, the people in Georgia, and even the ones in Colorado, where the young man got right. Where was these group of people criticized NFAC? Where were you? Are you going to go talk to the representatives of the law enforcement out there just the ones that just put a family on the ground at gunpoint? And it's been like 2 or 3 incidents with this Aurora Police Department. Are you going to go out there and talk to the Aurora Police Department? Or are you going to go out there and talk to the prosecutor? Because what's the next black victim? Or are we just going to tell them, well, this is the big reason why, because of history. Okay, we know that it's history, and we're not taking away this history. What are you going to help to do something now if you love your people? What are you going to do? It's easy for someone to sit there and say something like that. Oh, it's good that we are the people of this, because we are the people. We black people. Oh, okay, that's all. That's good to find, Danny. Now it's time to apply it. I love my people. Okay, now it's time to show that you love your people. That's the truth. But some of these people are the same ones that got, hey, at least I can say, hey, I salute the brother. Put the life on, he put his life on the line, and say, hey, there's got to be a time when someone just got to do it, and then say, do something like. Do you know the significance in that? That somebody would they open expose themselves just to get justice for somebody. To show that how evil this thing is. This is why Martin Luther King was assassinated. This is why Malcolm X was, and many people like them was assassinated, because they had to expose the evil, and then the Most High God was going to expose the evil, because something would have happened to this person. It could have went the wrong way, and it was just, we just gonna riot. It would have been just like a typical thing. Somebody had to get the rise the power to do it, so it could be an upward swing. Because you have people who are under a satanic system that can consistently want to dominate, and they want to do all the evil that they do. And as long as you're cool about it, as long as they can keep you separate and fight among each other, they working in the operation of Satan. Because that's what Satan does. He's an instigator, and anybody who have his personality, they do the same thing. They operate in the same way. So, my question to you, would you have done that? Those who are criticizing him, would you have done that? What would have been your solution? What would have been your family member crying? Well, I'll pray for you. That's nice. And there's nothing wrong with somebody praying for you. But sometimes prayer, God wants us to step out in faith and apply what some of us to do. And if someone got the gusto to do it, let them do it. If they got the willpower to do it, if it's in them, let them do it. If it's not in you, it's not in you. Let them do it. It's easy to talk, but some people talk the talk, and there's some people that walk the walk. And so don't get mad at someone. They deserve that shine. He deserved it, and so did his members. They deserve every bit of it, because they the one and passed out in the heat. They was the one. Not only they passed out in the heat, come across country, passed out in the heat in a different city. Something did go wrong, but they all went back alive. And basically, it was no like my team versus your team. We're gonna go down and we're gonna have an open civil war battle. It was not like that. It was just to shake the powers to be. And sometimes God has to use a situation to shake the powers to be. Sometimes he has to use a man. Sometimes he has to use a Joshua. Sometimes he has to use a David to go out there and shake things up. Because if they don't, then the evil gets to rule the land. That's what it was really about. And I just felt led, because it's like this, and when I seen something like this, it's ridiculous. But these same individuals that's criticizing, they wouldn't do it. They're not out there. They're not coming behind the screen and going to a city and doing what they do and gathering their friends. You're not going to do that. You're not going to go out there and put your life on the line. So why you criticize someone that do? And then you literally telling what they've been trying to cover up around this U.S. government, and he's telling you the law, how they do it, what's the background, how they do it, and translate to you what most people don't understand. Why there's injustice? How does injustice keep getting away? And he's able to translate and get the facts and translate for you what was really going on. Because a lot of stuff the average citizens like us don't know what's going on, because some of us don't have the wherewithal to do the research and find out why this injustice. So when I made this video behind this video, I was kind of studying the last time. I kept on repeating myself. I hope that wasn't. It's kind of. I was just trying to. That was my way. I couldn't really express the words that I wanted to say. But in this video, I really want to say, if it ain't you, don't hate on the hater, because you couldn't do it. And I see all these different groups of people who are of this community, but no one ever stepped to the plate and get behind and just converge and convert. Yet you go right along with the separation and saying that this nigga crazy, he trying to do something, and you're not looking at the bigger picture. You're not looking at. It's really sad and pathetic. And you know the history of your people being betrayed. Someone like a J. Edgar Hoover did what he did to get you guys did some satanic to split the black community. You know this stuff, and you're gonna get right into it, and you knowing that system is still in the play today, and you giving right into it. So you gonna criticize another black man? Hey, if it wasn't for what you do, that's one thing. But don't criticize him for going out there getting justice for the people who was unjust. I mean, sometimes they need a prayer, and not everybody needs some prayer, and they need comfort in prayer. But there's some people that need justice when there's an unjust cause, when it's something unjust. So God allowed this man to do what he do, so he can expose, so God can allow the whole system to be exposed around in these last days. That's what the Most High is doing. Sometimes he has to use an individual to cause exposure, where the enemy, the demonic people in this world want to keep doing what they do. They want to keep the corruption going. They want to keep the good old system around, where they can get away with it, and they can use their privilege system. They can justify people. There's people that's still doing this. And when all citizens should be treated equally in the United States of America. But you get some people behind the laws that want to practice what they want to do. And it's a set laws for you, and it's a set laws for us. No, you can't murder somebody in this because the demographic of a neighborhood, and they get away with it. But this person do the same kind of murder because he's part of the law enforcement. No justification. Murder is murder, and that's what basically about. You just can't murder somebody and just get away with it. Unless unless it ended up being self-defense. But it wasn't self-defense of Breonna Taylor's case. They murdered that one woman. They murdered George Floyd. Just like those civilians murdered, who were part of the KKK, murdered those guys. And they felt emboldened to get away with murder, corruption. So if you don't so they see you fighting, and it influence more people to continue to do what they do. Because that's why the Most High don't like that corruption. So sometimes that he had to shield that man from protection to get his purpose done in the earth. And it may not come in a certain package, it may not look a certain way, but somebody had to step out on faith. Not too many people are going to do that. Do you know anybody that they love their own people, and that they were willing to put their life? That's the same thing what Christ would do. That he loved his people, that he put his life. And he said, I will take the punishment, take the persecution, to get justice. So you won't have to render your justice. Imagine that. Anyone on this planet would not have done what he done. Yeshua. Some people call him Jesus, some people call him Yeshua. The one that went up on the cross. Would you have gone up on that cross? Or were you going to give your life for a line? Would you give your life for a line for your not only your family, but for your and you knowing that the people was going to attack your nation, and your nation is getting attacked by another nation? Would you give your life up for that? So why are you criticizing somebody else that's going to give their life for, who choose to do that? Not trying to make themselves a martyr. I mean, no one wants to die. I don't want to die like anybody else, but but I admire someone who if it get to that extent to get something to open to defeat the enemy. Some people in the history of the world lost their life, and sometimes it was not always behind war. Sometimes it was in a civilian way too, to fight for the life of people. Some people save people's lives. Some people go into burning buildings, save people's lives, like they did on 9/11. Would you done that? I'm asking you the question. Those who want to criticize. Would you give your life like those firefighters did? Would you say that was your and your friends, your relatives in those buildings in New York back in 9/11? So don't call what I'm saying, don't say something that's crazy if you're not willing to sacrifice your life. Think about it. Someone had to be brave enough. Someone has to be a Joshua in the Bible that said have to go fight the giants. Well, all the people sit back, just like in that day. The giants are too big. I don't think we can take those giants. They look like they could pick us up. We're like grasshoppers. They stomp on us. But they didn't use faith. And Joshua and Caleb was the only ones to go and fight. Was the ones that said, "Let's go rock." They didn't care. They didn't see anything. They saw the mission. That's why the Most High and was with them and said, "You got the victory." And Joshua in the Bible was able to whip those people down, defeat the giants. And they had to fight 30-foot beings, 10 to almost 30 feet tall. They fight these things. And I mean, scary. I mean, because these things, they have ripped up whole armies and things like that. I'm using it as an example. You have a lot of people today. I know we have to be connected to that Bible, because you got some people, or like we're descendants from. Even though we have this like the Joshuas. I believe that Bible connected to us. But you got some naysayers saying you crazy with going out there and fighting them giants. You gonna get us all killed. They're gonna wipe us out. That's what they said. This was in the Bible. But it started that he still got the victory and still got the honor, and he still is a legacy to this day, just like King David is. Of course, you have the brave men like Paul that would teach the word, preach the word, but he also went through some stuff too. He got beat up and everything. He got thrown in prison. Government was about ready to chop his head off, like John the Baptist. And like the brother said, they're gonna kill you anyway. If you're not part of a certain agenda, if you're not part of the demonic agenda, they're gonna kill you anyway. If the Most High ain't with you, so you better have your ears tuned in to His kingdom. He's right. So when it's understandable we have some fear and scare, but at the same time, at the time you got to fight, because the enemy don't stop. He don't sleep. It's good with words, but sometimes he'll get you alone when you ain't around your people. He'll get you alone, and it's gonna be you in the Most High by yourself, not a group of individuals. It's you in your Most High. Ain't your boys, ain't your friends, ain't your pastor, ain't nobody. It's you. When the Satan comes up and he sends his army, you better hope that you got a connection with the Most High. Sometimes he'll manifest himself in the person. This is what I know. So don't the moral of this video is, don't criticize somebody if you're not willing to go and take the fight for justice. If you're not willing to go take a fight, stand down and give praise what honors due. Would you go out there and sacrifice in a near 100-degree heat for somebody to get some answers? You want to be the critical person. Would you fight for a stranger? Or you say, well, they're not from the same side of the city I'm from. They're not from the same side of town I'm from. Instead of looking at it globally. Because If that's the case, and then you give it to the territory. See, like I told you I could do to the Willie Lynch mentality. I told you I could divide them up by city. I could divide them up by skin color. They could be divided by religious belief. That's what can happen. He put all that aside to go put his life on the line for you. So some crackpot, when they think about that, they think twice. Because some people, they keep doing something that then you got another person. It's like, for example, you got some people that think it's cool that they get fascinated with getting a serial killer. If you don't deal with that, let that people know that no, you're not gonna deal with the serial killer. You got some other people be trying to be a serial killer, in which it has proven that. But if the police or someone don't catch this, or someone gonna distinguish the serial killer and lock him up before someone end up taking him out, then what he'll keep on killing. That's what a serial killer do. I'm just saying. So someone had to stand up to a serial killer. It had to be a police, an individual to take down the serial killer. That's what police officers and law enforcement do. They got to go after go after the crazy person who decided to want to chop people's body up. Did they get scared? Yes, they do. Some of them probably do, because they're going up against someone who's crazy. But they know they got to do what they got to do. But there might be the ones that say, hey, I got to go deal with the evil. I got to go and chop down the evil. That's how this mission is in this world. There's some people that we can read about it, preach about it, but then again, it comes a time someone has to apply what they preach. It's easy to say something, and it don't matter what the situation look like. If God's in the mix, He gonna protect them. That's faith. And I believe that brother Grandmaster Jay had a lot of faith. He stepped out on his faith, and he applied it. Have you applied your faith like he applied his faith? And that's his calling. So why are you knocking? If that's his way of his calling, that's his calling. To get behind. He's the one that was able to get the intel and get the intellect to go behind and do it. And you got some intelligent people, some of them on YouTube in the black sector. But how many gonna step out and do what he did? But yet they criticize him. They're looking out for their own. I can tell you something. Well, okay. You can tell me something, but will you stand by me? If I'm your brother, are you gonna stand by me? Or are you gonna go through the storm? Well, I don't. Well, if it's your fault, well, I don't know. Okay, we see where you at. So that's all I gotta say, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, but it made me. I heard that it kind of irked me, because people don't know the magnitude that this was. They don't see it. This wasn't just for show. Someone that takes a hell of a person to do something like that. A group of people go down and do that. It takes a group to get some answers. Where there's injustice, it was injustice. They weren't gonna go out and be a bunch of yahoos. Even though it was like he was gonna do something, but he wasn't gonna do it. He wasn't gonna do it. But sometimes you gotta get in their psychic and do it. That's all what it was. That man got good sense than that. He got more sense than you think he do. And have you talked with him? Watch his video. At least listen to the man. Listen to him. This is the second video I did on this topic. Listen to what he's doing before you criticize somebody. It's easy for someone to sit there and I heard many people doing videos on it. I'm like, have you talked to him? Have you sat down and watched some of the people who really got the insight on why he really did it? Do you know that that's an unselfish act? To step out your comfort zone to put your life on the line for strangers, for a person that you don't know about, that you read in the news, to say I love, and say that I love my, and say that they are my people, like they take them on like they're your family. Do you know what that means? Do you have any clue? You got a lot of black people that talk black issues, but they don't. Some of them really don't like their people. They're not gonna go to that extreme and die for their own people. They won't die. They won't die just for themselves, let alone they die for other people. They might even think that Yeshua was nuts, or the civil rights leaders were nuts. But they're so easy to criticize. But the tail was turned. Would you have done it? And you don't like when someone critique you. And the ones who do it, you don't like when someone critique you. But my question to them is, would you have done it? Where's your love with people? Where's your love with your family? Would you have gone out there, put your life out for your family, your friends? I'm just saying, I asked the question to those who criticize it, what happened down with that black militia. Would you have done what they've done? Would you stepped out and gone in the heat? I don't think so. You sit back behind, like most of us do, behind our keyboard. Well, some people don't just talk crap. They apply what they talk. And I take my hat off to people that do that. Man, some people need to grow up. Some people, and for those who criticize them, you should be ashamed of yourself. You should be ashamed of yourself. Because if it was one of your relatives, and you wouldn't get no answer from the local government, you would have done the same thing too. Someone shot your mama, your uncle, your father, your brother, your son, your daughter, anybody. You would do anything in your power wants something to happen. So why are you criticizing someone that do? That's just crazy. You know, so I'll just give some something to think about. And I can say that because, you know, if I was in slight nervous condition, I would have done it. If I was in the military, I would have been down there. At least I'm honest. Well, I couldn't have gone because I know I've been kind of nervous. I know I'd have been nervous, but I admire the ones who was able to stay poised, and I respect the men and women, those men and women that went down there. And I hope this video get to them and let them know I respect you. And if he hears it, tell him I respect Jay too. I respect him. There's one person on here out of very few will respect what he did. He deserved honor. He deserved respect, rightfully so. So I thank you for listening to this video, and I didn't mean to make this, you know, but it's just that when I see something and I see someone getting tear down their character, especially for the just reason, I feel like you got to speak up, or someone, one of these people that do it, it'll get to them and make them think. They might not like what I got to say, but they can't dispute it. And they wouldn't have done what he did. They would have never done what he did. But they sit back and talk all big and bad and joke and crack about other people. And that's what some people do. See, some people are boys, and there's some men are men. And that's a man in my book. I'm just saying. Ain't too many men they do that. But anyway, you guys take it out there and be blessed, and you have a good night and good evening. Thank you for viewing this video. Hope that you share it with somebody. Take care. Until next time, James out.